Congresswoman.
Democrat PAC. He's funded by a Democrat PAC, donates 100% to Democrats, is only here to make
No, we're bipartisan.
Trump. No, you're not.
We
We looked you up.
Yeah.
You are 100% funded by Democrats. You donate to Democrats. You're out here asking bull questions.
What is the
No.
bullshit question?
All of your questions. So
This is a mailing. This is a mailing from
the American.
This is Donald Trump.
Trump. We all campaigned on protecting seniors' Social Security. You can't lie about it. See, yeah, this is your political agenda. You know what? We don't care.
That's Donald Trump. That's Donald Trump's mailing.
No, you are. You're not media.
That's Donald Trump's mailing.
Right here is for Democrat ads to attack Republicans.
Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't like being on the record when campaign season is over and it's time to follow through on all those populist promises that Donald Trump made to MAGA supporters.
So it's really simple.
that's what
It's
your
really
agenda is.
simple.
No, it's
Will
not
you
simple.
pledge
No, you're a
to take
liar.
Social Security and Medicare cuts
here,
off the
you
table?
and this guy right here, look, you're lying.
What am I lying about?
Because
I'm
President
asking
Trump-
you
President
to
Trump
take a
campaigned-
pledge.
I don't need to take a pledge because we've already done that all year long. And guess what? The sad story for you is the American people elected Trump, his agenda, and Republicans to lead the country because you guys suck so bad.
So I'm just wondering if you want to take a pledge to not cut Social Security and Medicare. So that's obviously conservative firebrand Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she took my mailing of Donald Trump and threw it in the air.
Running away from the agenda they never thought twice about actually following through on is a bad look. But revealing that the only thing she cares about is living in the glory of Trump's 2024 win is even worse. It does remain to be seen if MAGA voters will continue to accept sacrificing their tax dollars to billionaires and corporations in exchange for policies and programs that actually make their lives better. And from the looks of the way Trump demeaned the large numbers of people that surprisingly celebrated the killing of that United Healthcare CEO, he expects voters to sit down, shut up, and keep accepting predatory systems.
The United Healthcare shooting, the shooting of the CEO in New York. Can you give us your thoughts about that? And what do you make of the reaction around the suspected shooter? Does that tell you anything about how people
I think
about
it's a
healthcare?
terrible thing. I think it's really terrible that some people seem to admire him, like him. And I was happy to see that it wasn't specific to this gentleman that was killed. It's just an overall sickness as opposed to a specific sickness. That was a terrible thing. It was cold-blooded, just a cold-blooded, horrible killing. And how people can like this guy is, that's a sickness, actually. That's really very bad, especially the way it was done. It was so bad, right in the back. And very bad, thing like that. You can't believe that some people, and maybe it's fake news. I don't know. It's hard to believe that that can even be thought of.
Now, he may not believe it, but Trump should pay attention to the negative responses that conservative pundits like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh are getting from their loyal audiences after they bashed the celebrations and support that crossed partisan lines regarding the murder of Brian Thompson. It's a pretty good indicator that even though MAGA people bought everything that he sold them, most are beyond fed up with being played like suckers and can see who's keeping the game going.
So, in its most basic terms, this was a killing that was intended to evoke terror. And we've seen that reaction. The statutory elements we can go into, but its most basic term, that's what this is. This was not an ordinary killing, not to suggest that any killing is ordinary. But this was extraordinary, and the New York State Legislature has, set out, both the paths that we talk about, both the murder one and murder two, and this we allege is certainly squarely within those statutes, which talk about intending to do exactly what we saw happen here.
Trump even found himself in agreement with Alvin Bragg, the New York prosecutor, that he hasn't had a decent thing to say about it all, due to his successful prosecution of the president-elect, handing him 34 felonies to put in his pocket. But DA Bragg isn't helping the tough spot politicians and CEOs are in by going after terrorism charges against the shooter Luigi Mangione. His reasoning may follow along the lines of escalating the crime to the level of terrorism, but the message it sends to regular people that don't get a thought or a prayer when their loved ones are killed by gun violence or a policy of rejecting insurance claims is that rich folks' lives are worth more than theirs. So even though some of these folks clutched their pearls over Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, acknowledging the pain and fear that the insurance industry terrorizes many of their customers with, their finger wagging may not be very convincing.
Mr. Witte, in 2023, United Health raked in a whopping $22 billion in profits, making you the most profitable healthcare company in the country. In fact, by revenue, United Health is the 11th largest company in the entire world. Because United Health has bought up every link in the healthcare chain, you are now in a position to jack up prices, squeeze competitors, hide revenues, and pressure doctors to put profits ahead of patients. United Health is a monopoly on steroids. Do you know how much, according to the Inspector General, United Health cheated taxpayers out of in 2017?
Senator, thank you for the question. I'm not familiar with that particular piece of work.
The number is $3.7 billion, and that's in just a single year, and that's from only 2 upcoding practices. It is time for regulators to say no to these efforts to get bigger and to suck even more health dollars away from patients and providers who need it. For the sake of our patients, our doctors and nurses, and the American taxpayer, it is time to break up the United Health monopoly.
Trump can call her racist names, and Fox News pundits can gasp over her voicing the frustrations of the American people. But I get the feeling that no matter how much demonizing they do, too many folks are tired of not being represented. We'll hear about the very real tragedy of Brian Thompson's wife and kids having to live without their father and husband. But we rarely hear about the countless spouses, children, siblings, nieces, nephews, and grandkids that never get over the fact that their loved ones could still be with them, if not for the greed of a system that some politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene only want to make worse. So where are their stories of struggle and fear?
I think people don't understand what the situation is. So I've had patients, just to give you an example. So I once had a patient who, had really bad problems with a heart attack. And so he came to the emergency room late because he was trying to figure out whether he was having a heart attack or a panic attack, because he couldn't afford having a panic attack. Because if he went to the hospital, which he had done many times before, he'll get this $35,000 bill. This is like a 58-year-old dude with a fixed income. He doesn't have 30 grand to waste on a panic attack where he goes to the emergency room, gets a bunch of tests, only to be told you just have a panic attack. So he's sitting there at home trying to figure out, am I having a heart attack or am I having a panic attack? And the whole point of an emergency room and of being a medical doctor is that your patients shouldn't have to figure this stuff out on their own at home. He waited way too long to come. And I don't know if y'all know this, but basically time is heart muscle when you're having a heart attack. So the longer that you wait to get help, if you get help for strokes, we kind of think about a 3-hour window. Basically, if you can get time to TPA, which is the amount of time it takes to bust a clot and restore blood flow to the brain, under 3 hours is good. A lot of times, if you can get it fixed within 3 hours, you're okay. But when you're sitting there trying to figure out, is this a panic attack? Is this a heart attack? You end up waiting. And then the guy lost a huge amount of function in his heart. There's a part of his heart that was dead and is not contracting anymore. And it's just bad. And I think a lot of people just don't know, they don't have that experience. Every time they have a medical problem, they don't have to decide between, okay, is this really crippling? Is this going to kill me? Do I want to ruin my life and die? Or do I want to ruin my bank account and survive? And it's such a terrible situation for anyone to be put into.